Hey everyone, welcome to our Honkai Star Rail tier list for December 2024. That's saying 24, covering version 2.7. If you're wondering who the best DPS, supports, and healers are right now, you're in the right place. We've got the lowdown on which characters are dominating the battlefield and how to build your teams for maximum efficiency. While the free characters Honkai Star Rail gives you are solid for clearing story content, it's crucial to have a diverse roster. You never know when you'll need a specific role to get through those tougher combat scenarios, so having multiple teams ready is key. In this video, we'll dive into which characters are worth prioritizing and how they can help you tackle anything the game throws your way. Even the strongest characters can't always do it all, so it's all about balance and strategy. Stick around as we break down the top picks and help you make the best decisions for your journey through version 2.7. Let's get into it. I'm quickly moving on to the video, and I'm ranking characters in Honkai Star Rail. Before we start, if you enjoy these types of tier list videos, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Enjoy watching!
My friends, only 0.1% of viewers subscribe. If you like this type of content, please do not forget to subscribe to the channel. Thank you in advance for your support.
The characters in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Trailblazer and Arlen. Alright, let's talk about some characters who are a bit, let's say, meh in Honkai Star Rail. We're diving into the C tier. First up, we have the physical Trailblazer, Vapiersur. Now don't get me wrong, they're a solid pick if you're looking for a reliable DPS with decent single target and AoE damage. They can even buff themselves and heal the party with their technique, which is always handy. But here's the catch, there are just better options when it comes to physical damage. Other characters can do what they do, but more efficiently. So, while the Trailblazer is a good all-rounder, it's hard to recommend them when others shine brighter in this role. Next, let's talk about Arlen, the guy who loves to live dangerously. Arlen is a unique DPS because he thrives on taking risks, literally. The closer he is to death, the stronger he gets, as his damage scales with his missing HP. He can also heal himself after taking down enemies when his health is low. Sounds like a fun, high-risk, high-reward playstyle, right? Well, here's the thing, while Arlen can hit hard, a lot of characters can deal the same or more damage without the need to play on the edge of a cliff, health-wise. So yeah, he's fun, but not necessarily the best choice in terms of consistency. In the end, both the physical Trailblazer and Arlen have their niche, but they fall short compared to other characters who just do their job a bit better. If you're looking for more reliable damage without the need to sacrifice so much or deal with some of the risks, you might want to look elsewhere. These guys are decent, but they just don't stand out in the C tier. They're fun for certain playstyles, but in terms of efficiency and power, other characters will usually take the spotlight. The characters in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Natasha, March 7th, Trailblazer Fire, Hook, Serval, Yanking, Yukong, Misha, Luca, Sampo, Danheng, and Sushang. Alright, let's dive into some of the fun mid-tier characters in Honkai Star Rail. These heroes may not top the charts, but they still bring some serious utility and style to your team. So let's talk about why they might just be the perfect fit for your playstyle. First up, we've got Natasha. She's all about healing and support. Her abilities focus on keeping your allies in the fight, and if you've got a teammate suffering from debuffs, she's your go-to for a clean slate. Her ultimate is a game changer, healing the whole party at once, which is a lifesaver in those longer battles. So, while she's not out there dealing massive damage, Natasha's got your back when it counts. Now, let's talk about March 7th. This character is a support powerhouse. She can shield your team from incoming attacks and even dish out some counterattacks. What really makes her shine though is her ultimate, which freezes all enemies, perfect for controlling the battlefield, especially in the simulated universe's remembrance path. If you're struggling against enemies that swarm you, March the 7th is your chill protector. Next, we've got Trailblazer, Fire. This one's a tank with a twist. Not only can they taunt enemies and absorb some of that damage, but they can also give the team shields and buffs to keep everyone safe. They're your solid frontliner, and their ability to reduce damage incoming to the squad is priceless in tougher encounters. If you like the idea of being the wall that stops enemies in their tracks, Trailblazer Fire might be the perfect pick for you. Moving on, we have Hook. She's all about taking down a single target with speed and style. Her skill lets her inflict burn on enemies, making them take damage over time, while her ultimate lets her act sooner in the turn order. So, if you want someone who can consistently hit hard and fast, Hook is your girl. She's fantastic for picking off high priority targets, but make sure you don't let her get overwhelmed by too many enemies at once. Serval, on the other hand, brings the thunder. Literally, she's a DPS with a focus on AoE damage and the ability to stack shock DOTs, damage over time. Her ultimate lets her extend these shocks, dealing damage to multiple enemies in one go. If you're facing hordes of enemies, Serval is going to make sure they feel the burn. She's great for clearing waves and applying pressure across the board. Then we've got Yanking, who's a single target. DPS through and through. He's all about buffing himself to increase his damage potential. The only catch is that Yanking's power really shines when he's able to avoid taking too much damage. If he's constantly taking hits, his buffs won't last. He's amazing against bosses or smaller groups of enemies, but can struggle when faced with larger crowds, so make sure to use him wisely in the right situations. Yukong is up next, and she's another support hero who's also got a bit of a DPS side to her. Her ultimate is super helpful for buffing her teammates with 80% Curate rate and Kiarit DMG. She also has a nice offensive edge, thanks to her ability to spam her ultimate for more damage. If you like a flexible character who can support and still dish out some decent hits, Yukong could be a perfect fit for your team. Finally, let's talk about Misha. Misha's DPS potential grows stronger with every skill point consumed, making her a great choice for taking down single targets with her ultimate. However, she struggles when there are more enemies to deal with since her ultimate's bounce effect doesn't work as well in those situations, but when it's just one big target in her sights, Misha is ready to shine. So there you have it. These characters may not always take the spotlight, but they all bring something useful to the table. Whether you're looking for a support character to keep your team healthy, or a DPS to clear through enemies with ease, these B-tier heroes can hold their own and make your team that much stronger. The characters in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Clara, Himeko, Gepard, Belu, Gwynaifen, Welt, Chinque, Herta, and Shuei. Alright, let's dive into some of the A-tier characters in Honkai Star Rail. These are the ones you'll definitely want to have in your team if you're looking to crush some tough content while still having fun. First up, we've got Clara. Now, Clara is a bit of a tank, but she's not your usual stand there and get hit kind of character. She thrives on counterattacks, which makes her super satisfying to play. The best part, she can take a hit and still hit back harder. Plus, she can cleanse debuffs off herself, making her a solid pick for long battles where enemies like to throw status effects at you. And when she pops her ultimate, those counterattacks get an extra boost, meaning you're gonna dish out some serious damage. Then there's Himeko. If you love dealing with lots of enemies at once, she's your go-to girl. Himeko excels at handling large mobs, especially in modes like Pure Fiction and Calyx farming. Her ability to perform follow-up attacks makes her a crowd control beast, and those follow-ups are perfect for cleaning up enemies quickly. She's a solid pick for any situation where there are tons of enemies to mow down. Next, let's talk about Gepard. This guy is your typical tank, but with some extra perks. Not only can he absorb damage and protect his team, but he's also got a shield to back up allies. Plus, his ability to resist getting knocked down means he's sticking around in fights longer than most other characters. And if that wasn't enough, he can freeze enemies with his skill, which is perfect for locking down dangerous foes. If you want a sturdy tank who brings a lot of utility, Gepard is your man. Belu is another character that will make your life easier, especially in tough content. She's a top tier healer who can keep your team alive with massive HP healing, and her revivability means you're never out of the fight. Whether you're tackling high-level bosses or something like the simulated universe, Bailu's healing and support are a must-have for surviving the hardest challenges. Now, if you're looking to add some serious damage over time, Gwynaifen is your girl. She's a debuffer with a unique AoE burn dote, damage over time, that can wreck multiple enemies at once. Not only that, but her ability to increase the damage enemies take while they're burning makes her a great pick for any fight where you need to chip away at enemy health over time. She's especially effective when you're up against groups of enemies who can be affected by burn. Welt is one of those characters who shines when it comes to control. His ability to slow down enemies and mess with their turns using his ultimate can really change the course of a battle. On top of that, he's got that sweet imaginary weakness break, so enemies who are vulnerable to imaginary attacks are in for a world of hurt. If you like controlling the flow of battle and watching enemies struggle to keep up, Welt's your guy. Then we've got Chinque, a DPS character who's all about luck. Her damage potential can be through the roof when the stars align, or in her case, the tiles. If you can match the right tiles, Chinque can dish out some serious AoE damage. It's a bit of a gamble, but when she hits hard. She's a great pick for certain content like Swarm Disaster, but outside of that, you'll want to keep your fingers crossed that the tiles fall in your favor. Last but not least, we have Herta. If you need someone who excels at mowing down waves of enemies, Herta is your go-to. She's all about AoE damage and follow-up attacks, which makes her a great pick for modes like Pure Fiction or Simulated Universe. While she might struggle against elite enemies or bosses, her AoE damage more than makes up for it. If you're facing a lot of fodder mobs, Herta's gonna be a blast to play, so there you have it. Some of the A-tier characters that are absolute gems in Honkai Star Rail. Whether you're looking for tanks, healers, or DPS characters, these guys will definitely make your team stronger and your battles more fun. Keep an eye on them as you progress through the game. They're well worth investing in. The characters in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Rapper, Dr. Root Ratio, Fugue, Trailblazer Imaginary, Gallagher, Silverwolf, Jing Yuan, Jinglu, Imbibita Lunar, Kafka, Blade, Seal, Jayuki, Black Swan, Paler, Jade, Topaz, Argenti, March 7th, It's Imaginary, Mose, Luakacha, Asta, Lynx, and Hanya. Alright, let's dive into some of the absolute powerhouses in Honkai Star Rail. These are the units you're going to want to have on your team if you're looking to crush the toughest content, break some shields, and just flex on everyone in the game. No need to beat around the bush, these characters are the real deal, and I'm about to break down why they're in a class of their own. First up, we have Dr. Ratio. This guy is a single target damage dealer like no other. What sets him apart? His follow-up attacks, which deal crazy damage, especially if the enemy's been debuffed. He thrives in situations where you've got a lot of status effects flying around. If you're planning to wreck someone with pure damage, Dr. Ratio is your man. Now let's talk about Fugue, the break efficiency queen. Fugue's ability to boost break efficiency for your team is something that can't be ignored, and her super break ability doesn't even need a weakness to land. Unlike the Harmony Trailblazer, Fugue can deliver that sweet break damage boost passively. She's like the secret weapon you never knew you needed. On the topic of break effect, Trailblazer Imaginary is another beast you don't want to miss. She might not deal the highest raw damage, but her ability to make your team's break effect super effective is unmatched. When she uses her ultimate, it's game over for any enemy that's weak to super break. Plus, she buffs SPD, which makes everything go even faster. Speed is everything in Honkai Star Rail, right? Let's not forget Gallagher, the healing machine with a twist. Gallagher not only heals your team, but his besotted debuff gives you extra healing every time an enemy affected by it is attacked. If you pair him with a break effect team, he really shines because his healing scales off of break effect. So, if you've got a team that focuses on breaking shields and dealing tons of damage, Gallagher is going to keep them alive and kicking. Speaking of damage, Rapper is here to dish out some serious AoE hurt. Her seal form state allows her to ignore weaknesses and deal massive break DMG. If you're dealing with a lot of enemies at once, Rapper is your girl. Whether you're clearing hordes or smashing multiple bosses, she'll keep the damage flowing. Then we have Silverwolf, who's all about setting up your team for success. Her ability to debuff and inflict elemental weaknesses on enemies is a game changer. It opens up a ton of opportunities for your DPS characters to shine. Want to break through tough enemies? Silverwolf is your MVP. She enables your team to hit harder, deal more damage, and make everything flow smoother. Now, for some pure destruction, Jing Yuan and Jinglu are absolute monsters. Jing Yuan's multi-target damage is insane, and he excels at breaking toughness bars, especially against lightning-weak enemies. If you're looking for AoE carnage, he's your guy. On the other hand, Jinglu is a glass cannon who can deal obscene damage in her enhanced state. The catch? It costs your team some HP, but the rewards are well worth it. If you've invested in her properly, Jinglu will make sure the enemies feel every hit. And finally, Imbibitor Lunai, aka Dan Heng Imbibitor Lune, who's just the master of both single target and AoE destruction. His enhanced basic attacks, when managed properly, deal devastating damage. Once you figure out how to handle his SP, you'll be clearing content that used to give you a hard time. He's not just about raw power though, he's about consistency, which is a big win in the late game grind. These characters are the definition of Honkai Star Rail powerhouses. Whether you're looking to break enemy shields, dish out insane damage, or keep your team alive through the hardest battles, these S-tier units will elevate your gameplay to the next level. Keep an eye out for them, and trust me, you won't regret building your team around them. The characters in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Acheron, Firefly, Fake Xiao, Sunday, Ruan Mei, Robin, Yunli, Sparkle, Aventurine, Lingsha, Boothill, Fushuan, Bronya, Huohuo, and Tingyun. Alright, let's talk about some absolute powerhouse characters in Honkai Star Rail. You know, those units that make you feel like you're just straight up breaking the game. These aren't your average characters, these are S+ tier, the ones that make the enemy tremble in fear. Buckle up, because we've got some serious stars to discuss. First up, we've got Acheron. This Nihility DPS is an absolute monster when it comes to AoE damage. Her ultimate is like a nuke, and the best part? It hits even harder when you've got a solid debuffer team to make sure that ultimate hits fast and furious. If you've got her on your team, you better have some debuffers ready to go, because when she unleashes her power, you'll see the enemy's HP bar disappear faster than you can blink. Then there's Firefly, the break DPS who's fast, strong, and just totally relentless. When Firefly enters the complete combustion state, she's like a ticking time bomb for the enemy. She applies fire weakness, and then boom, she's dealing huge break DMG to any weakness broken enemy. It's a thing of beauty to watch. If you can't already tell, Firefly is one of those characters you want to build your team around. Now, if you're all about single target destruction, Fake Xiao is your gal. She can deal massive DMG with her ultimate. And the cool part is that you can stack up Aurea stacks through your allies' attacks. So, Fake Xiao just sits back, lets her teammates do the heavy lifting, and then bam, ultimate time. It's like watching a countdown to an explosion, except the explosion is your enemy's health bar. If you're looking for support that does a little bit of everything, Sunday is where it's at. Not only does she provide crit buffs, turn advance, and energy restoration, but she also works like a charm with summon-focused DPS characters. She's that perfect utility character that can slot into pretty much any team and make things run smoother than butter on toast. Ruin Mei is another must-have if you're in the mood for some buffing action. She brings so much to the table. Break efficiency, SPD buffs, and all-type RES pen are just the start. Oh, and did I mention she can deal bonus Ice DMG? She can also delay enemy turns through weakness break, which means she's not just helping your team, she's actively making the enemies lose their turn. Talk about a game changer. Speaking of game changers, Robin is here to steal the spotlight. This Universal Harmony character provides DMG and Karaite DMG buffs for the whole party, but the real fun begins when her ultimate activates, boosting your allies' ATK and giving them an extra turn. It's like she hands out bonus moves to your entire squad while also dealing some damage herself. A true MVP in any team composition. Sparkle is another one that brings the fun, and she's all about those skill points. She can give DMG buffs by consuming them, and even advances an ally in the turn order. Plus, her ultimate restores skill points, so she's always keeping things rolling. If you're playing a character-heavy team, Sparkle makes sure everyone gets their turn to shine, literally. And then there's Yunli. A mix of single target and AoE damage with a side of tankiness, Yunli doesn't mess around. She taunts enemies with her ultimate, which makes them attack her while she dishes out massive damage in return. She's not just a DPS powerhouse, she's also a great way to protect your squishier teammates from taking the heat. It's all about making the enemies regret ever stepping into the battlefield, so there you have it. Just a few of the absolute beasts in the S+ tier of Honkai Star Rail. Whether you're stacking damage, buffing your team, or making enemies regret their life choices, these characters are all about making your squad unstoppable. Keep an eye on these guys because once they hit the field, it's game over for anyone unlucky enough to stand in their way. The video ends here. See you in another video. Don't forget to subscribe.